What's up, YouTube? It's another day with the one and only Billy J. And this is my review of episode 3 for 13 Reasons Why, now on Netflix. In this episode, we learn a little bit about Justin's home life. His mom is a drug addict and she has a boyfriend named Meth Seth who Justin and he do not get along. The subject of this episode is Alex. And Alex is the metaphorical butterfly that put into motion this shitstorm that is going to drive Hannah to commit suicide. And Alex is in the school band with a whole bunch of students that look way too old for school. Hannah's mom visits the school to discuss about Hannah, but the principal doesn't want to really talk to her and give her much information because there's a lawsuit. So apparently, Hannah's parents are suing the school. Hannah's mom runs off to the bathroom to grieve and collect herself. Well, in the bathroom, she notices there's a lot of graffiti on the walls with such slanderous things as calling people bitches and sluts. And so she decides to take pictures of this graffiti as evidence. We also discover that the counselor Porter is interrogating the students to get information as far as the life and death of Hannah. Basically, he's gathering evidence for the trial. Clay sneaks out of history class and finds Alex ripping down the suicide prevention posters out in the hallway. Alex says that they're pointless, and instead of being suicide prevention, they should be more encouraging, like don't be a dick. And as they're talking, who decides to come up out of nowhere? None other than the creepy photographer kid named Tyler. And Alex and Clay both just blow him off and send him on his way. Once they get talking again, they're once again interrupted by Counselor Porter, and Counselor Porter asks Alex to come with him to be interrogated, and he also asks Clay to come with him, but Clay comes up with an excuse as far as why he can't go. As Alex and Counselor Porter walk off, another kid pops onto the scene, and this kid is dumpster diving. I'm assuming this guy writes for the school paper because he talks about finding juicy stuff in the dumpster, and he asks Clay for information about Hannah because he's writing a memorial for her for the school paper. And this guy is clearly gay. My gaydar is ping ping pinging away. Back at the movie theater one night after work, Clay and Hannah go up to the rooftop to check out the lunar eclipse. And as they're up there, Hannah gives Clay a little hint about making a move by saying that she's kind of scared. But of course, our favorite adorable kid is completely oblivious and tells her that there's nothing to be scared of. Poor Clay. The following day at school, Hannah is walking down the hallway and students are laughing and taking pictures of her ass. And it's pretty evident that something is up, and Hannah feels the pressure of their eyes. In class, a note is being passed around with the different students, and eventually Hannah gets a hold of this note. And it's revealed on the note that it's a list of students with best and worst attributes. And Hannah is on the list for having the best ass, and Jessica is also on the list for having the worst ass. Upset by this note, Hannah gets up and throws the note in the trash immediately. Obviously upset, Hannah throws the note in the trash. But as soon as Hannah turns around, another student immediately gets up and pulls the note out of the trash. And it's funny because the teacher calls out Hannah for getting up and tells her to sit her ass down. But the teacher doesn't say anything to the other student. And later that day at lunch, Clay puts his foot in his mouth with Hannah. And he brings up the list and tells her that she should be proud to be on the best ass list instead of the worst ass list. Poor Clay. clearly doesn't know how to talk to the ladies. In gym class, hipster Tony and Clay are discussing why Tony was in Hannah's neighborhood. And Tony lies and says that he was in the neighborhood because of the great shopping.
Wrong.
In the locker room, Alex comes up to Clay and warns him not to reveal anything to Counselor Porter when he gets interrogated. And Alex warns Clay to keep away from Tony because Tony is not his friend. And then Alex invites Clay to Monet's after school so that they can discuss the tapes. Back in the past, Hannah confronts Alex about the list in the men's locker room. But of course, being a woman in a man's locker room, she's booted out pretty much immediately. And the jock crew give Alex props for tapping Hannah's ass. And they believe that Alex dumped sweet nice girl Jessica for slutty Hannah. Courtney and Marcus are in Counselor Porter's office being interrogated as far as who could be going around ripping down the suicide prevention signs. And Counselor Porter believes that it was Clay because Clay was out in the hallway. But Courtney assures him that it was definitely not Clay. Back at Monet's, Clay straight up asks Alex if he made the list, and Alex admits to it. And Alex claims that it wasn't the list that started the shitstorm, but whatever happened at Jessica's party. Clay talks to Alex about the tapes and talks about how he gets anxiety and nervous and sad listening to the tapes, and he's deathly afraid of getting to his tape. Alex explains to Clay how the list even came to be. Apparently, Bryce came up with the different categories and then gave it to the jock crew to fill out the rest. Also, Alex specifically says that he's not friends with Bryce, but he was friends with Zach, who hangs out with Bryce and Justin and the rest of the jock crew, and that's how they all became friends. But not with Bryce. Bold prediction, I think that Bryce and Alex are on the down low. Perhaps when Bryce gets drunk or high, that he comes around Alex and they kind of fool around. Anyway, Alex says that he put Hannah's name on the list as best ass to piss off Jessica because Jessica wouldn't have sex with him. Which I think Alex was pushing for sex with Jessica to hide the fact that he's gay. But after the list came out and crazy girl logic, Jessica was mad at Hannah and not just Alex. And then of course the girls had their famous slapping scene. However, Alex does feel remorseful because he ended their friendship. He starts to make a scene about how he killed Hannah and Clay killed Hannah and everybody killed Hannah, and then in walks Tony. But Tony's not alone, he is with Hannah's mom. Alex again warns Clay about Tony and tells Clay that Tony isn't even on the tapes. Alex and Clay leave Monet's and Hannah's mom notices Clay. Hannah's mom asks Tony about Clay and Tony says that he's just a friend and he's unsure if Clay even knew Hannah.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you always lying?
The tapes lead Clay to a seedy liquor store where Hannah would frequent after school for some chocolates. And while there one day, Bryce walks in to buy some booze. He offers to buy Hannah's candy, and as he's paying, he grabs her ass, which obviously upsets Hannah. And Hannah explains that because she's on that list, it gave a free-for-all for guys to just objectify her and just take advantage of her. So Clay goes into the liquor store and he's buying candy, and of course Bryce walks in to buy some booze. Bryce pressures Clay into buying some booze and he even offers to buy it. Outside the store, Clay was just gonna dump the liquor in the trash can, but the jock crew were right there, and called Clay to them. And they pressure Alex and Clay to a drinking contest. It was the freak versus the geek. And of course, before anything happens, stalker Tony pulls up and looks at Clay disappointingly. And before he knows it, Clay is downing his 40 ounces of malt liquor. Clay wins and runs off to confront Tony. Tony drives off angry after Clay brings up why he's hanging out with Hannah's mom all the time. Then Tony replies back that if you can't trust me, then I can't trust you, and drives away. Clay, somehow with super speed and invisibility, somehow tails Tony on his way down to the docks. And down on the docks, Clay witnesses Tony and some other guys beating up a guy. Drunk Clay comes home to his parents eating dinner, and he's up front about him being drunk. There's no secrets. He doesn't really try to hide it. And all of a sudden, he throws up all over the dinner table. Over at Bryce's house, Alex is hanging out and he's all upset. And he gets up and stumbles around and falls into the pool. I honestly thought that Alex was going to die. He kept sinking down into the pool deeper and deeper, and they were playing this sad music. But after a while, he comes to his senses and starts floating on his back and is luckily saved. I'm pretty concerned about Clay because Tony clearly is a stalker. Every time he turns around, there's Tony. He's following him in his Mustang, or he's out in the hallway staring and basically following Clay everywhere. And what is his deal with Hannah's mom? I don't think anything's going on between him and Hannah's mom, but Hannah and Tony didn't even seem to be very close. So far in the tapes, Hannah hasn't even mentioned Tony. And then all of a sudden, after her death, Tony's hanging out with her mom like they were like the best of friends. And Alex is the only person so far that has even shown any remorse. Anyway, leave a comment down below on your thoughts of the episode. And remember, peace, love, unity, respect. Peace out, guys.